everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is a yarn launch party. I'm here to introduce you to Shorn 2, the 2019 clip. I've got yarn, I've got patterns, I've got stories of sheep, lots of wonderful stuff in this quick introductory video. All of the details for the yarn are over on the blog, and I'll talk about those toward the end of this little intro video. But if you're watching this, it means that the yarn orders are live. I'm accepting orders as of 2 p.m. on Friday, January 31st. And I do that because it is a limited supply of yarn. Since it's a farm-to-skein yarn, it means I have a limited amount of fleece that I gathered up and skirted and sent to the mill and had the yarn made in certain kinds of ways, and now it's back and we've had patterns made. So anyway, there's not that much of it to go around, but it's a wonderful process and it keeps me in touch with the sheep and the shepherdesses of my local community, and I hope that it gives you a chance to try out a yarn that is small and local and you know the producers and you've met the sheep and all that kind of good stuff. So let's jump right in. This is Shorn 2, and I call it Shorn 2 because there was a Shorn 1 that came out last year, and that was a Corriedale mix. This year I did a Corriedale and a Corriedale Teeswater cross mix, and I did it in a blended gray. So this is the yarn. It is a beautiful 3-ply DK weight, sport weight kind of yarn. It is a blended gray, so it is all natural, and to do that I mixed mostly white fleece with one black fleece, and I asked the mill to blend it so that we would get a beautiful gray, and that is exactly what they did. And I love this color because it is natural. It is a natural gray blended between the white and the black fleece. I'll show you up close. We'll see if we can get some of the plies to show up a little bit there. It's very plump and it's perfect for things like cables. And I like this 3-ply kind of sport weight because it's good for accessories and sweaters, and you know I like both of those things. Plus they're perfect for like one skein accessories. So there's enough yarn in here. There's about 250 yards for every 4 ounces, and that means it's enough for a hat or a set of mittens or a set of socks or a cowl or something like that. If you're interested in sweater quantities, again, it's limited, but you might be able to get your hand on enough of this to make a sweater, which would be amazing, and I'd love to see it. So Shorn 2 is, as I said, a mix of Corriedale and Corriedale Teeswater cross, and all this fleece came from Cathe's farm of Seven Sisters Farm, and I have the little cards sitting over my shelf. I'm looking at them right now from the actual fleece that I bought from her. So I bought Splenda's fleece and Merlin's fleece and Violet's fleece, and there are a bunch of others that were first year used, so they didn't have names until a bunch of them came to live with us this summer, and we named a couple of them. You might have heard me talk about Dolly on the podcast, and she was one of the first years that we named because she was just so darn cute, and Spencer had to call her Dolly. Anyway, so we've had the sheep living on our pasture. Like I said, I went out to shearing at Cathe's and helped with that. I've done that for the last few years. And she's been switching over from, she was originally, when I met her, she was raising Leicester long wools, but she's since switched over to more of a Corriedale, and then she went with a Corriedale Teeswater cross. So the nice thing about a Corriedale Teeswater cross is that you get all the properties of the Corriedale, which is like a medium weight wool with a good crimp, and you get all of the luster of the long wool, which is the Teeswater, but without the kind of drape of long wool. This wool has very much, if you kind of hold up a skein, it very much, it doesn't have as much drape as like a long wool would have. It's very sturdy and it's very soft, next to skin soft. So she switched over to this Corriedale Teeswater cross flock, and that is the wool that I bought from her. I bought almost her entire clip from 2019. She has about 29 sheep. Well, she did at that point. they're about to have babies, more sheep. And at that point she had about 29 ewes. So it's a great flock. I was there for shearing, and then I bought all the fleece and brought it home and skirted it on my kitchen floor in the old house, and then stored it up in basically our bedroom. Poor Spencer. And when we moved, I had to like quickly get it all ready and shipped off to the mill so that we didn't have to actually move with all the fleece. So there's your story. In Michigan at Stonehedge Fiber Mill. I love their work. I think Deb does an excellent job with all the fleece that I've ever sent her. And I've heard great reviews and stories of her mill up there. So we're trying to keep it in the Midwest, at least keep it a local kind of yarn, local kind of production. And then she shipped it back to me, all skeined up and ready to go, and I shipped it off to Kephren Pritchett, who is an amazing designer, and you've probably seen her designs. I've talked about her before on here. She did a couple of blog spots with me, designer dialogues and things like that. So you've probably seen her work in the big knitting magazines, and over on Ravelry she has tons of independently published patterns. And Kephren was kind enough to design 2 patterns with this yarn. They're both one skein wonders, so let me show you those. One is a beautiful cabled hat, and you can see that like you can just see the cables pop. This yarn, since it's a 3-ply, is nice and round, and it just makes these cables just pop. And I love the way she did the crown decreases are beautiful. It has a tubular cast on. So let's see if it'll come up on the camera. I think it will. There it is. Yes. So a tubular cast on is just this beautiful kind of double-edged cast on, and it gives everything a really nice finished look. Now this hat is, you can do it with a pom-pom, you can do it without a pom-pom, and you have enough yarn in one skein to do the entire hat and the pom-pom if you want to. And I just love the way these cables kind of flow up into the crown of the hat. I think it's just gorgeous. Now I made the large size because I was aiming to get this into Spencer's hands, who's my husband. So this is the large size, and it fits me obviously, as you can see, but it fits him perfectly, and I'll put a few photos of him wearing this hat up in the cast here so that you can see it on his head. I just love these cables. I'm spinning them around so you can see them. So that's the hat. This is the traveling hat, and Kephren released this pattern yesterday on Ravelry, and we're offering kits with this hat and a skein with a skein of yarn and a digital download code for the pattern. You can check that all out on the blog. The other thing she designed is another one skein wonder, hard to believe. These beautiful traveling mitts, and I'm putting them on because that way you can see. I'm gonna pull my sleeves up so you can see that that cable pattern that she worked out for the hat worked out beautifully on the mitts, and she has these gorgeous kind of like thumb gusset kind of increases built into the rib here. Same on the right hand side. They're mirrored, really beautifully done. And these have the tubular bind off and the tubular cast on, which makes them look super, super finished. So when you're done with these, it's it. Like they just look really finished, nice and rounded, and they're really comfortable on your fingers because of that bind off that she's worked in there. And the bind off is really easy to follow. If you've never done a tubular, Kephren will walk you through it. You need a little bit of help with the cast on. It's like a long tail tubular cast on. Totally easy to do. If you can do a long tail cast on, you can do this cast on. And then the bind off is like super well explained in the pattern, so it's very easy. So these are the mitts, and it takes one skein of yarn, and in fact I had, you know, maybe half an ounce of yarn left over after making the mitts. So there's plenty of yarn in one skein to make this beautiful pair of mitts, or to make the hat. And these are the traveling mitts and the traveling hat by Kephren Pritchett. And if you want to pick up the pattern with the Shorn yarn, that's awesome, and this is what you'll get. But it's also available on her independently published Ravelry store. So you can just go, if you don't get your hands on Shorn, no problem. You can still pick up the pattern from Kephren for the traveling mitts or the traveling hat. And they're both really beautifully done patterns. So I hope you'll go over and show her some love for getting involved in this farm-to-skein venture. So thank you so much, Kephren, for taking the time to design the patterns, 2 of them, and for running the test knit, and for all your support of this venture. I really appreciate it. And thank you too to the test knitters out there. We had Winnie, we had Stony Baloney, Sandra, City Raccoon, Francesca, Anne, Love to Run, Fulham One, and Margaret all test knit these patterns. So thank you so much to all of you for getting involved. So all the purchase options are over on the blog. Each skein of yarn I'm asking $25 for plus shipping. And if you want to do the kits, they are $30 each, and that includes, as I said, a skein of yarn and a digital download code so that you can go over to Ravelry and pick up your pattern. And I'd love to see what you guys make with this yarn. So whoever's out there and whatever you make with it, please share your projects with the hashtag Shorn2019, and I will just love to keep up with that thread and see what you guys are making. And of course, as always, I love to do a giveaway when I do a farm-to-skein yarn. So for the giveaway, we're gonna have a skein of Shorn and one of Kepren's patterns to this. So if you win the giveaway, you will get a skein of yarn and a pattern of your choice, either the hats or the mitts. You'll get a digital download for that. So what I'd like you to do to get in on the giveaway is just leave a comment here. Tell me what you're excited about, like why you're interested in farm-to-skein yarns or local yarns or knowing where your yarn comes from. Just leave a comment, something about that, and I will enter you to win the giveaway for the skein of yarn and the digital download for one of Kepren's beautiful patterns. We'll do a draw for that in a couple of weeks. So yeah. In the meantime, I wish you much, much happy time knitting, and I will see you hopefully for the next yarn launch and maybe for the next podcast. All right, see you guys. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for supporting local yarn. Take care.